Thank you. I'll come running over. I can say anything.
All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart. Here. Councilwoman Huda. Here. Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation of the exits in the front and the rear. Any electronic device, please put it on vibrate or shut it off. First item tonight is a work session on Maple Road. Sorry. I make a motion to come out of the executive session. No action was taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Ms. Clerk. Okay, Maple Road. Long, hard winter, probably the deepest freeze we've had in a long, long time. And Maple Road has been a problem for a long, long time. I've lived here since 1957. I remember when it used to be closed for the winter. They don't do that anymore because some more houses are out on the end toward the hospital end, so to speak, as opposed to the Sheck Pool end. So I remember when it was closed. I didn't use it much. I still don't use it that much to this day. It's just a long, dirty, dusty road. And some people want it, some people don't. Now, I would say, when I first got here, I saw a letter that was written to the town of Carmel about opening the road to the rear of it. What's the name of it? Kelly Road. And never got a response. Wrote the letter, didn't get a response. I called Mike Simone, didn't. When it comes to Kelly Road, Carmel doesn't like to speak about it, okay? And there's another exit, emergency exit only, as you know, on the other end, and that goes to Peter Road. And that was for emergency purposes only. When they developed that development at the top of the hill there, Enid Crosby, that it was basically for emergency purposes only. If something were to happen, it's a gate that can be, no one has the key, can be broken down to get out people in the case of an emergency. So we're well aware of what it is. Now, I received probably 4 phone calls from pretty irate people that live up there. They offered to clean my car if I rode down the road. I got a little Honda Fit, so it would probably get stuck in the mud, so I didn't even want to attempt it. And believe me, I've rode in dirt roads, muddy roads all my life, and I know what they're like, and during the wintertime, especially this time of year, I stay off them. But you people have to navigate that all the time. So I don't see which side is for or against. I think at this point in time, we're going to try to look and see if there's some kind of a compromise. I know people don't want it, and many people do. And the shortest section is from Sheck Pool to Enid Crosby, and that's basically the section we're looking at. Now, I wanted to have, this meeting tonight is just to get a feel for what you want, and there's quite a few people here, because usually people don't attend, so we're happy you came, and you can stay for the whole meeting, because no one ever stays. But we're aware of the situation, so tonight is a feeler. We want to hear your voices, what you have to say. There's been studies done on it going back when. We've got the records, and we will keep this on the agenda until something gets done. I hear many rumors that the DEP does not approve of this. They did send out something positive in the past. The costs, whatever the costs were in the past, would not be the same that they might be now. We've asked the highway superintendent to come up with some kind of an estimate, what it would cost to pave it if it's to be paved. A lot of people are upset by the way it's treated. I think last year I got a couple of complaints that the rocks they used were too big. They came up and damaged their cars. So we basically heard a lot. Both Liz and Bob were here previously. They've heard some of it, but I guess push has now come to shove. So we're going to do a survey of it, come up with some prices, and hopefully move forward on it. We're going to try to fix some of the things that have been broken for a long time, and we'll see what happens from there. So with that, it's not a public hearing, in the sense it is, only because it's the only item on the work session. So as people would like to speak, when you come up to the mic, just state your name, give us your comments of what direction you'd like to possibly see the town board take, give us some hints, and this will stay on the agenda, like I said. You'll have to look, if there's one email to tell everybody, don't know, but if you look on our website, we always post the agenda, usually on the Monday before the meeting, and you can see if it's on the agenda, and as we get the documentation, we'll have it on the agenda and discuss it accordingly. So, who would like to be the first speaker?
We got some documents that were signed by some people are for the paving.
I have cards for that. I'm sorry I came in a little late, but
I'll give
Four?
everything to Michelle, the town clerk.
Those are for paving,
Yes.
is it?
Thank you.
Paul, you can give it to us after, just, if you have extras, bring them to Paul, he'll bring them up. Did you state, Paul, did you state your name for everyone, did they know?
Sure. Paul Marini, live at 110 Enoch Crosby Road. I've lived there for almost 16 years. Been a Brewster resident for about 25 and a lifelong Putnam County resident. Appreciate the opportunity to speak about this. The last time it got pretty heated, and the first thing I want to say is it's not personal. We've got friends on both sides of the aisle on the issue, so that's the main thing. I don't want it to disrupt any friendships, and I hope everybody keeps that in mind. My feeling is that the road cannot be properly maintained when we have a winter like we did this year, and I think if you haven't driven on the road, what happens is the top layer gets muddy, but the subsurface stays frozen, and it's just impossible to drive. You know, I have a Honda Civic similar to Honda Fit. It's not made to go over that kind of terrain, and my car bottoms out constantly. It's very frustrating. It's my understanding from the report that was done years ago that the amount of traffic we have meets the criteria to have the road paved, so I don't think we're asking for anything extraordinary here, just a typical paving for a residential area. I think based on the amount of man hours, equipment hours, and material used on the road this winter, a business case can be made to justify the economics of the project. It's not just cost. There's some reduced costs as well that would offset some of that. I think a paved road would be safer in the end. When there's several inches of mud on top of the frozen base, it's difficult to control any vehicle regardless of speed. One thing I noticed, I've walked, biked, and run on the road probably over 1,000 times over the years. And I think people tend to walk in the middle of the road because it's pitched out to either side and the gravel accumulates on the sides. And having people walk down the center of the road I don't think is the safest thing. I think if it were paved and people stayed to the side of the road, it would be beneficial in the end. I think also the safety of emergency vehicles trying to get to our neighborhood when road's a mess is could be a real problem in the end. Okay, so I talked about that. I think there are going to be a lot of people that express their points of view tonight, and I think it's important to listen to everybody, but I think it's also important to understand that the people that live on Enoch Crosby Road have no choice but to drive on the dirt portion of the road. There's people that use the road occasionally. There's people that live on Maple Road that have a driveway that goes out to pavement, and they have the option of turning towards the dirt road or away from it. And we don't have that option. So I hope that's, our voices are weighed in the appropriate sense in that aspect. I consider myself strongly pro-environment based on my career choice and the way I conduct myself, but I don't see paving the road becoming an environmental problem. I think the main issue with the paved roads is we want to avoid the runoff going into the reservoir. Currently, like I said, the dirt road is pitched to both sides, and there's material built up along the reservoir side that kind of prevents, I think it's intended on preventing water from running into the reservoir, but if you go there and look, there are dozens of breaks in that material. The water runs directly into the reservoir today, so I don't see why paving it would be a problem. In addition, the engineering report initially on the paved road was to pitch the pavement away from the reservoir so the water would run towards the hill. So hopefully that would be another issue that would improve the water quality in the reservoir as opposed to hurting it. Okay, another thing that's come up in the past is people are concerned about increased traffic. I don't see how paving a portion of the road would increase the traffic. We'll still have half of the portion that's dirt today will still be dirt. And I just don't see the road as a leading to anywhere that would increase the traffic. I think it's 90% of the use is for the people that live in the two developments there. So I don't see that as a problem. A couple points that were brought up in the last public meeting years ago. Someone said, please don't vote on paving the road until you've had a chance to take a walk on it. I don't understand how walking on the pavement or the dirt will affect the view. I think it'll be great regardless. You know, there are paved parts of the road now, and the reservoir still looks the same from the pavement. And I think if you disagree with paving the road, I think like Tony said before, please go out there and drive it when the conditions are awful. And I think, you know, you may change your mind. Finally, the last thing, another quote I remember vividly from the meeting 10 years ago, someone who lives on Maple Road and whose driveway goes out to pavement said, I don't know what the big deal is. When it's muddy, I just turn right onto the pavement. And that's exactly what we're looking for. We're not looking for anything unusual, just we want an opportunity to drive out of the neighborhood safely on pavement, so.
Okay, while you're there, Paul, just some of the comments that had been made prior to, and I've heard the argument is if it's paved, there's an increase in speeding. I've been on that road, and I followed cars that have left me in the dust, so I don't know if that's gonna have too much of a difference. I understand from some of the phone calls I received that they had been promised by real estate when they bought the house numerous years ago, that portion of the road would be paved. Now, when they say road, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you now, this board is not gonna consider it any way from the hospital to Enoch Crosby. The only thing we're gonna seriously consider is from Enoch Crosby toward Czech Pool. It's a distance of about 2,600 feet. Okay, that's all this board is gonna be interested in. So if you're on that end and you don't want it, you can still walk in peace. We're not considering that. And anything that's ever done in this county, our town, is DEP approved. So if it's paved, they're gonna tell us which way it's pitched. They're gonna ask for specific catch basins to catch any additional oil that may go on the road from, you know, pavement as opposed to soil where it actually sinks into the ground, which I think is maybe more harmful. At least there's catch basins there. There's a way to reduce what goes into the reservoir. So that's the better part. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Catherine raised her hand, right up.
Say it again? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ann Golden, and I live on 55 Enoch Crosby Road. I'd like to start by saying I think Mike Bruin and his crew do a terrific job. They work tirelessly on that road. And it's basically like trying to empty the ocean with a thimble. It's an archaic road. They're out there 3 or 4 times a week. They're very courteous about directing traffic, so I think that needs to be recognized. I've lived on or near Maple Road for 50 years. I was in Marnell Estates, I was Tully Foster Apartments, I was in Marnell Estates, now I'm on Enoch. A lot has changed over the last 5 decades, except for paving Maple Road. It's time to pave this road because the constant grading has created a center ridge and it's an unlevel surface. The spring thaw creates deep hazardous ruts. The road's narrow, there are many blind curves. The ruts can be so deep that the cars with low suspensions bottom out. The mud is slippery and it makes steering difficult. I've had 3 flat tires in the last 3 months. The dirt surface is difficult to clear of snow and ice. The gravel has sharp edges and causes tire damage. The drainage is inadequate and often backs up. In the dry weather, which is a little better, there's a dust storm. The walkers and bikers create an additional hazard because many of them just like to walk down the middle and do not get out of the way of the vehicles. There's no shoulder, and the larger vehicles like buses and fuel trucks leave little room for safe passage. For those who would like Maple Road to remain paved, I say, speed will not be any more of an issue than it is now. There's a $1 million walkway not far from Maple Road that people can jog and bike on. The resources used to maintain this section of road could be put to better use. And this is an ideal time to pave it since oil prices are a bit lower. And I'd like to know how many people who support the dirt road actually have to drive it every day. The Enoch Crosby residents cannot access their homes without driving through the mud, and it's time to correct this situation.
Thank you. Next speaker. If another person can come up, too, so we can keep it moving, if you don't mind? We're not rushing you, but we can get everyone there in 7 minutes.
Usually I walk fast. Wendy Lewis, 60 Enoch Crosby Road. As of many of my neighbors, I've lived there for about 18 years. I use the road, I'm one of the annoying runners that are on the road, along with Lynn.
She doesn't run, don't tell me that, I don't believe
She
that.
walks.
Okay.
I also grew up in this town, and I have relatives that live on Ivy. I knew the road way back when it was closed also. I want to make a couple of points because I am opposed to paving it. I'm not opposed to a compromise. I want to present a few things. One, there are hardly,
Oh, use the mic, Wendy.
oh, sorry, hardly ever any accidents. There's been less than a handful of accidents in the past decade, and most of the accidents that have occurred on the paved corner in front of 121 Maple, which is a sharp curve. It's a narrow road. There's nothing you can do about it. The big problem with Maple Road is the rate of speed that people travel on it. And Tony, I'll pick you up. You don't have to drive it. Come with me at 4:30, spend an hour on the road, and you will see nobody drives the speed limit. I'm talking 40, 45 miles an hour. The speed limit is 20, 25, and they take it at a very high rate of speed. I don't disagree that it's dangerous at that rate of speed. Another thing, my concern is if you do pave it, fast cars, and it will be a cut through. If that whole road is paved,
No, it's not happening.
okay, well,
I'm telling you now,
I'll tell you, but it did come up when Route 6 is backed up, that's where everybody's gonna go. If it's more convenient, right now it's a deterrent to people, and I like it that way. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't think, it is annoying. It can be unsafe. Like I said, most people drive very, very fast on the road, and that's the problem. Nobody drives 25 miles an hour, and my house happens to be placed in an unfortunate position on Enoch Crosby. I get all of the incoming and outgoing traffic of Enoch, and you should see the Mach 10 speeds that people go by my house. When my kid is waiting for the bus, today, in fact, the bus stopped, somebody blew by the bus. So people have to slow down. Slow down, the road is very safe.
Based on the comments you just made this evening, I will write a letter to the Sheriff's Department asking for some more enforcement on that
Yeah,
road.
I think if you put a couple of sheriff cars there, you'd be very surprised. And like I said, invitation's open. Spend an hour with me. You'll see how people drive on the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Hello.
You-
So my name's Catherine Weber, and I live on Maple Road on the horse farm that runs from the corner where the pavement ends down a good ways towards Enoch Crosby. So if anyone is going to be affected by this, and if anyone wants to see us get this right, it's me. You're pretty much paving my property line. Obviously, given that I own a horse farm on the road, I would prefer you didn't pave it. With that said, I'm sympathetic to what some of the previous speakers have said about road conditions. However, there are things we can do other than paving the road or paving it completely on that stretch that would ameliorate a lot of the muddy and slippery conditions. A cursory Google search for an hour about paving alternatives or dirt road improvements yields a whole list of alternative strategies, some polymer-based things we can apply to the road, things that ameliorate dust, that would preserve the aesthetic of the road, could be applied in only sporadic sections in the problem areas, and would otherwise leave the roads still attractive, still a pervious surface for water, and still an asset to the community for those other than drivers who enjoy using the road for walking, biking, and jogging. I thought it was a little bit sad to hear a previous speaker refer to walkers and bikers on the road as a hazard. When you see people walking and biking in a road, that means that road is an asset. Maple Road is a wonderful asset for our community. I work in real estate in our area and also in Westchester. The most expensive addresses you will find in this area are on dirt roads. Drive down Hook Road in Bedford, drive Upper Hook in Katona, take Vale Lane in North Salem. All of these roads are dirt, and they're all really muddy. And the way that people compensate is by driving slower. If you're blowing out tires and bottoming out your car, you're driving too fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
And I would at least ask that
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please. One speaker at a time, please.
I would at least ask that if I am not successful in arguing that you shouldn't pave it, I would really like to see us pursue alternative safety measures such as speed humps and additional signage to ensure that people don't come flying around my corner at 50 miles an hour, because they already come around at 40.
Signage we can do, speed bumps are not a recommended usage for controlling the speed of traffic, especially on major roads.
Would you consider Maple Road a major road?
Well, based on what you just said, yes, I would. There's quite a few people that use it. It's not Route 684.
It's not recommended by the state DOT, speed humps. Some places they are and different things, but there's a
Small
lot
developments.
there's a lot of liability too if a car hits them.
I mean, I know they're used extensively in other places where they try and, on other small, pretty roads where they'd like to keep people going slow. I just think it's hard to make an argument that you want more safety and then make the road easier to drive fast on.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Klasky. I live at 113 Enoch Crosby Road, across from Paul. But I have a different opinion about paving the section on the northern side of Maple Road. And the reason for that is I don't believe that several weeks' worth of mud warrants destroying another part of our rural heritage that exists here. And throughout this community, there's a significant amount of change. There's been a zoning change that just happened. And if we're to preserve what many of us, not all of us, but many of us came to live here for, then at some point we have to address the fact that we need to preserve what we have. Now, my concern about the paving goes beyond that. I don't believe that anyone has generated or produced any evidence that the road is unsafe. Number of accidents or otherwise, and I appreciate that we're going to look at, that we could potentially look at the number of accidents, but once again, we have a road which has a guardrail all along the edge of the reservoir, yet people say that, oh, we're going to fall into the reservoir. That's simply not the case. And as far as the safety of the road and speed, I rarely see anyone driving 20 miles an hour on that road. And if someone is supposedly driving around the curves and sliding on gravel, then they're not driving 20 miles an hour. They're exceeding that, and they're doing it at their own risk. Now, the prior speaker did steal a little bit of my thunder in that there is also perhaps a way of taking a half step. And that is that, indeed, we haven't explored all the ways of making this a better roadway. The use of polymers to stabilize the substrate is one of the ideas. There's also other things out there that not only impact the quality of the road, but also reduce town cost. And I'll use specifically dust suppression. There are environmentally safe dust suppression products that that will cut down on the amount of what's called fugitive dust, or the dust that leaves the roadway and gets into the storm drains. Not only does it make the road safer by eliminating the dust that can obscure your vision, but in addition to that, it also reduces the amount of grading that's required, and just generally makes a more stable road surface. Last, I mean, in terms of the stability of the road, I think there was a comment here earlier saying that the problem is mud on top of a substrate which is frozen. I would ask that we investigate a little bit further and find out whether or not indeed that the sections of Maple Road that are mushier really do have an inadequate substrate below the surface, and that those sections of Maple Road could be strengthened in that way by repairing the substrate. Not the top surface, but the substrate beneath it. So that's pretty much what I had to say, that it seems that everyone has jumped to a solution before really thinking through all the problems. And when I talk about the substrate,
if indeed everyone thinks that you're going to throw 2 inches of hot mix asphalt on top of the existing dirt road and that there's going to be no problems down the road, well, you got another thing coming, because those areas of the road that currently have a very soft base, unless you repair that and fix that, you're going to have the same problem.
Town
So-
specs would not allow what you just said to happen. That will not happen. Town specs will not allow that to be done.
Let what?
Too much, 2 inches of, on what type you have there. Everything would have to be brought up, base put down, and
okay.
more than 2 inches of blacktop.
So in many cases with respect to roads and road paving, there is a staged approach which is taken. The town has already been excellent in taking the first steps of improving the quality of the drainage. Great job there. Second part of it is strengthening that substrate. And at that point, you may not need to pave it. All of Maple Road is not a swamp. There is sections of it that need to be addressed. So that's just my thoughts on it. And
Tony, could I address just a few?
Yes, go ahead.
I spoke with our Highway Superintendent, Michael Bruin, and he is not advocating for anything that I'm going to tell you. He can speak for himself. But some things that we were talking about, oh, and I'm sorry, I live at 55 Maple Road, and that's important for all of you to know. I live on the paved section. But I do walk the road every day, and I very often drive both ways. So, they did put down some matting, our highway department, a few years ago, and Michael seems to think that that has really stabilized the northern end, and it was approved by the DEP. So I'm not saying this is something Michael is saying instead of paving, but there is some alternative. He said that the matting sections have been far more stable than the other sections this year. He also talked about what really tears up the road the most tend to be heavy trucks and buses, so you can look into limiting their access. And he also mentioned in times of real emergencies, but which it is now, that you would open up to Marnell at his discretion. And I don't think that's going to happen ever unless trees are down and that's the only access to get in. I also think we also discussed that in North Salem this year, they literally closed. This is not unique to Maple, and I'm sure everyone knows that, and I'm sure it doesn't make your driving easier, but all the roads in North Salem were closed this year, the dirt roads, because of the frost heaves have been so difficult. So I appreciate your points. I just wanted to say that the matting was something that could be looked into as well.
so there is a compromise.
Well, I'm not even saying that, and as I said, I'm not advocating for Mr. Bruin at all, I'm not speaking for him at all. But there are things that have helped. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You go, draw copies. Thank you. Working in school. I want to say I love seeing your horses on the road. It really gives a nice feel to the road. Hi, my name's Jeffrey Tepper. I live at 91 Enoch Crosby Road with my wife and 2 boys who are in the back because my wife's having an MRI done tonight, so they're here. I'm here tonight to tell you why I do not want Maple Road paved. One of the reasons I bought my house is that I get to drive down a dirt road every day. It was a big selling point for me. I thought how incredibly cool it is. I get to drive down a dirt road to my house every day. How cool. Over the years I've been here, seeing individual people, seeing families, and seeing people with their dogs walking that road, walking that designated scenic road, by the way. Over the years, that just enhanced how I feel about this little simple, beautiful country road we have here. Growing up on Long Island, I can greatly appreciate a road like this because Long Island is becoming more and more congested, and I'm happy I left it. During the 12 years that I've been here, there's been 2 attempts to pave Maple Road, and both times the board has seen in their wisdom to leave Maple Road as the wonderful thoroughfare that it is. Here we are again discussing the possibility of paving a designated scenic road. I'm flabbergasted that we again need to have a conversation about why we should work with the environment and not permanently change it. Over the last 5 years, The town has done an incredible job of maintaining that road. There have relatively been few days that that road has seen a swampy condition in the past 5 years. With this winter we've experienced our two probably worst weeks of that road in 5+ years. I know that one of the tasks of the board is to make financial decisions. When this road has been in poor condition for 1 to 2 weeks out of the past 5+ years, spending, which I believe was $300,000 to $500,000 to pave the shorter end of Maple Road, at least is a horrific financial decision in the times that we're living in. Even if the road for 1 to 2 weeks per year was in this condition, it would still not justify spending that type of money at this point in time for a temporary inconvenience, which can be addressed simply by driving slower. Both my wife and I do it every day, and we never complain about it. Tonight, I know that you will hear about terrible safety issues that this 1 to 2 weeks of inconvenience subject people to. And I know that the safety of town residents is another task that you have to undertake. Please understand that these will all be addressed by simply driving slower and safer. The real danger will be in paving the road. The road meanders and snakes along the reservoir and possesses many twists and blind spots, all of which make it a beautiful unpaved scenic road. When it's paved, these wonderful characteristics will pose many serious threats. The alternative to that, I guess, is to straighten the road out and take out the beautiful twists and turns. Again, how sad. The proof of this is when you drive along Maple, going down towards the hospital, and you hit the paved road. We all speed up because we can on pavement. Please preserve the character and feel of our town and make the safer and financially prudent decision to leave Maple Road as it is. And one thing I will ask the board to do, and I will be back afterwards, if we do decide to pave the shorter section of it, I will pursue the permanent preservation and non-paving of the other side. I think that would be part of a compromise.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Mr. Otto. I live at 117 Enoch Crosby Road, along with my wife, Sharon, and 2 other kids. The kids, we go to the public school here. The schools are fine. But the problem we have is the road, the bus drivers, and we're forgetting the kids. Well, who feels it knows it. The bottom line, who feels it knows it. And change is inevitable. You're going to have change. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to have change. So listening tonight, all I'm hearing, we already basically reached a compromise. We're going to pave from Enoch Crosby Road to Shack's Pool. That's a compromise, yes. Was here before the meeting, and some guy from Carmel, when he wanted to put the road through Carmel, says, "Oh, you guys didn't know? You guys had a helicopter or something, a chopper that dropped you down? You didn't take the road coming in?" So hell, the amount of stuff that you hear is ridiculous. We live on Enoch Crosby Road. There's no proper exit for us to go anywhere. The roads are atrocious this year. Everybody knows that. I'm hearing stuff about you going 40 miles around a corner. That is ridiculous. You cannot go 40 miles around the corner without an accident. I'm yet to see, sometimes you see the horses, yes. But how many times you see horses? They're in the paddock. We are not horses. We are human beings. And I said before when I came here, when you guys are going to do something is when something happens to somebody. And that's the bottom line. Bottom line, we should not be living like this. We pay taxes like everybody else. And we already said we reached a compromise to pave that side of the road. Okay, let's move on it. I've been in construction for 30 years, and what I'm seeing them throwing down The asphalt, there's no asphalt problem there. The problems, people leaving their property out of Maple Road. We have few residents off of Maple Road from, 311 or something like that. They go onto the paved road and they're off their way. We make a left or right, we're in the mess. If a tree falls down, we can't get out of the place. I had to go open up the gate the other time when they had a problem. So how have we been treated as residents who vote and who do what we had to do as residents in the neighborhood? To say not pave the left side of the road. I'm just hearing from Minister Tipper a while ago that that other side shouldn't be paved. The whole road should not be paved. Okay, we're here as a compromise that side is not going to be paved. But no matter who it is, whether you're for it or against it, you're going to take the side that's going to be paved. And you're going to be constantly going to that side. Because there's no way you're going to live on the property or on the premises and you have to deal with the cause. Forget about the cause. Let's talk about the safety. The kids them complained about the safety on the bus. We had one resident that left already. When we had a handicap. Yeah, she said that's ridiculous. The bus is shaking my kid back and forth, hitting the head up against the window. That's not the way to live. This is ridiculous.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Lord. I live on Jewville Road, and I've been a resident for a number of years. I've used Maple Road constantly since I've moved up here. I would prefer that we leave the road unpaved. Its rural character really, it's the best thing for Brewster as far as I'm concerned in Southeast. I drive on Jewville or on Maple Road whenever I go to and from Hannaford's. It's just a peaceful place. It's a place to decompress. That's when I'm driving. I run on that road quite often. I've biked on that road many times over the years. And I would prefer that the town continue to keep it unpaved. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Chung, and I guess compared to many of the people in this room, I'm a newcomer to this town, and I love this town. My husband and I moved to Brewster from Manhattan several years ago, and because we love the beauty of the lakes and the rural lifestyle that everybody has been talking about, which I can so appreciate. And since most of you have lived in this town longer than we have, I can appreciate that you will have argued through and discussed many of the issues that perhaps we are not as aware of. But listening to the conversation that has been happening tonight, I want to say that even though we moved here to enjoy the lifestyle, slower from Manhattan, very different, enjoying the lake view, all the beauty of the town, I don't think keeping one road unpaved out of all the roads that are paved in Brewster necessarily is what makes this town rural or keeps its character, or else we would have the entire population of Brewster clamoring to drive down Maple Road, and this is not what we want either. So I would suggest, since the town was gracious enough to create that bike path, which is absolutely gorgeous, that people do enjoy that part of town the way they can without compromising on the safety. Also, I might say that every morning that I drive this road, I appreciate the view of the lakes and the trees best when the roads are paved, because then I don't have to focus on the safety of my driving. Every time I pass by that narrow path where on both sides of my view there's lakes on either side, it is, as many of you noted, the reason I don't ever want to leave this town. But it's because I don't have to concentrate on driving, and I do drive that Maple Road at 15 miles an hour, really. And it's still very bumpy and still unsafe. So, and I can say this now in front of my sister-in-law who's visiting. When she drove up from Atlanta this winter, she actually spent her first night on Maple Road in the car because we could not get that car up the hill to Enoch Crosby. You know, we went to the Greek diner. We couldn't move back, and literally we were stuck there until 7 in the morning. So I would hope that it didn't give her the wrong impression of Brewster. And if speeding is an issue for Maple Road, I think, you know, those who can appreciate the safety of this town will drive slower. It shouldn't be because roads are unsafe that we drive slow. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so you know, ma'am, there are other roads that are unpaved. That's not the only dirt road in Southeast. Okay.
I think that, you know, our private drives are all paved, and I think they're paved for a reason, if I may say so. I don't know how many people, I'm sure there are people who want their private driveways unpaved, but as far as I know, everybody's driveway on Enoch Crosby is paved.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Julie Wachowski. I live at 113 Enoch Crosby Road. We've lived there close to 16 years. And there may well be sound reasons to pave part of Maple Road. I can't say I'm really opposed to a compromise, but what I really would like to see, you know, if we're gonna, let's present facts. And I believe the Brewster School District's been transporting children from Enoch Crosby Road for 20, maybe more than 20 years. And to our knowledge, there's never been a bus accident up there. If there's been incidents, then, you know, that should be public knowledge. And those of us who've lived up there, if anybody was hurt on a school bus, we would have known about it. My kids have told me, my high school kids are like, Mom, kids sleep on the school bus. So I don't know how many children are really being disturbed about that bus ride up there. There may be a couple, but it's certainly not a majority of the children. So I think, you know, let's keep to the facts and to, you know, the statistics, and let's not bring in a lot of fear-mongering and supposition. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Jaspers. I live at 133 Maple Road, the dirt part. I'm kind of another one of these one of the newcomers. I've only been here about 4 years. But one of the big things that actually drew us to the area and to that Maple Road specifically was the fact that it was a dirt road, very scenic, very quiet, and traffic wasn't going at 50 miles an hour. That was wishful thinking sometimes, and I must admit that there is a lot of traffic that does go slow, a lot of traffic that does go fast. The fact is that even with the challenging road from time to time, people do speed on it, and if you decide to put paving on it, it's simply going to accentuate that. I mean, from a cost standpoint, I mean, let's face it, we're having a hard time just maintaining the paved road part that we have already. I mean, it's actually one of the more difficult places to actually drive compared to the dirt from time to time. I find it difficult to understand how adding a little more pavement is actually going to help in that respect. It's actually going to just be another step down to trying to pave the whole thing somewhere over time. With regard to, you know, the people that purchased property up, you know, Crosby, I respect that very much. The fact is, at the bottom line, the road was a dirt road when you bought it. It's still a dirt road. Buyer beware. That's part of what goes into. We actually came to this area because of the dirt road, because of the rural environment, and we'd like to actually keep it that way. And paving it, yeah, it'll make some of it easier, but it will. My gut tells me that it's going to decrease the safety because there's not any room to walk other outside of that. I mean, there's very little. I mean, there's no way that they can widen it far enough to put sidewalks on. Let's face it, we don't even have sidewalks in front of the elementary school. So if we would actually, if you had the money to do it, I would prefer money to go to that kind of a purpose than to spend it on paving a small area that would not necessarily increase the safety at the same time.
Thank you.
We see both cars, trucks, you know, they go at every speed whatsoever. And, you know, good luck with enforcement, but because the fact is they can't be out there all the time. The same thing will happen. But people are out on the road all the time. From dusk till dawn, people are out there. And, you know, every time of the day, so. please leave it alone.
Thank you.
My name is Gina Achagrassi. I live at 3 Ivy Hill Road. It is paved, and at the bottom where Maple intersects, it's paved. And I am adamantly opposed to paving the whole section that you're discussing. I walk my dog on that road. I walk in the middle of the road because if you're on the side and a car is coming, you run the risk of getting hit by that car, okay? We have not had a pedestrian accident. There haven't been a lot of accidents on the road. The one accident I did witness was once by someone who was going about 40 miles an hour. And to think that, Mr. Hay, you said that you do not use that road, you don't have a desire to travel on it because it's so difficult?
No, I
If it
don't.
were paved, that's what you implied in the beginning.
I don't live in that area, ma'am.
I understand that,
so I
but
don't.
you implied you would probably avoid it to not go on that road.
I would.
And if it were paved, you would gladly take that road,
No.
as would many other people if you were going from the increased traffic that we're seeing, if you were near the hospital, and you knew that you could get to a point by cutting through Maple Road, you would take it, and so many other people will as well. So to think that the traffic will not increase, even with the section left unpaved, is impossible. It will increase. And the people that want that road paved will go the fastest. And when their kids learn to drive, they will go the fastest. And that road, I bet everybody that bought in that area, because we're all from the same neighborhood, and I would venture to say that everyone purchased their house because as they approached the area, they said, wow, this is a really nice area. This is Brewster. This is a lot different than the other parts of Brewster that we know. And that's the reason why you purchased your house where you purchased it. You drove on a dirt road, you entered Enoch Crosby Road to get to your development, or whatever house you live on Enoch Crosby, and you did that knowing that this was a road that was absolutely beautiful, that was a dirt road that you traveled on to get there. And if a realtor promised you that it was going to be paved, no one promised me, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity to buy my house because of the area that it's in. And it sets the area apart from many other areas that are in this town. So I think it would be a huge mistake, and to think that we're compromising by paying taxes to suffer by having a dirt road, there are a lot of things in life that aren't fair, but I don't think we're suffering for a dirt road. And that's all I want to say.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, one speaker.
My name is Kathy Croft, and I live at 54 Enoch Crosby Road. I've lived there for 17 years, and before that I lived in North Salem on one of those dirt roads that was closed this year for 23 years. The big difference where I lived in North Salem, the developments on either end of the road, they had the opportunity to, they did not have to travel the dirt road. They could go out on a paved road. And when Crosby Hill was built, there's really no egress. There's just one way in and one way out. And I hope that you will, try to work with Carmel to get Kelly Road, Enoch Crosby Road, opened up to Kelly Road, because I think that would be one compromise that maybe the people in Carmel wouldn't like it. I know they wouldn't like it because I've sat here when they've been at a public hearing. But the fact is that that road was never abandoned by the town. 10 years ago, in April and May of 2005, over 700 signatures were collected from residents, every resident that lived on Maple Road, Enoch Crosby Road, not every resident from Enoch Crosby Road, but Brewster Heights, because it's also, the Middle Branch Reservoir is Brewster Heights water supply, so you have to remember that. And we submitted over 700 signatures to the town board. None of you were on the town board then. Willis might remember, because I'm sure you were here. But But I did just want to say, and the only other thing I want to mention is I do walk the road every day. I do not walk in the middle of the road. I usually will step to the side, especially nowadays because of the condition of the road. I will step aside. I don't expect cars to watch after me. You know, I take care of myself when I walk on the road. But I will say, when I'm following somebody going slow down the road that's ahead of me, and when they turn on Enoch Crosby Road, they usually gun it up the hill. And I can't imagine what will happen if the road is paved, because we all know that people like to drive fast because everybody's in a hurry to get to wherever they're going. So thank you tonight for holding this not public hearing, but work session.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lynn Sherman. I live on 10 Deer Court, which is off Enoch Crosby. I have a husband and 3 children. I've been living here, I guess, 7 or 8 years now. I just want to remind people, we came in today, I came in wanting, a change, wanting to pave the road. We already are at a compromise position. We're not talking about paving the whole road. So people that argue for this country road, which, believe me, when I bought my house, I loved it. I mean, I did have a great feeling driving up to the neighborhood. I appreciated the beauty of the area and the road. I did think it had a lot of charm, but being practical, living here day in and day out with 3 kids, driving multiple times a day on this road, it just is not a practical road with the number of families that we have living. There's about 70 plus homes, I think, affected, and that is our only access, and we're already at a compromise. You had already mentioned we're only considering paving that smaller half, which we can exit out to the left. I don't even know the miles wise. I mean, I run that road as well. I'll run it whether it's a dirt road or a paved road. I'll go to the bike path as well. I have that option. But the point is, it sounds like we're already at a compromise. We're going to have the bigger portion of the road remain a gravel dirt road, but it's just going to allow us or any resident that wants an easier way out, an easy way out. And I don't think it's asking for that much. I don't think it's really going to affect the beauty of our town. We still live in, a very scenic, we still have the reservoirs. I've been on many roads, and I appreciate the beauty in this area, whether it's a paved road or a gravel road. We still have that beauty of this area. But when I have to drive my kids in and out, I mean, there's times I don't want to leave my house because it's just, it is an inconvenience, but we've talked about the safety as well. And, it deters people. Like I have, child care issues at times where I can't get someone to come to my house because they just don't want to drive on the road. This past winter, it's happened. But we're not saying we're losing the whole road here. So that's why I just want to remind people, we're already at a compromise. I mean, we're going to have a good length of the road as a gravel road. And it's just that quick way out to Chex, paved. I think that's very reasonable in a modern day society that we live in. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Finizzi. Kathy Croft made a suggestion to look at Kelly Road. Several years ago, that recommendation was tried and failed. And I hope that we will not disadvantage one community to the advantage of another. I am not taking sides in terms of whether or not it should be paved, not paved, or so forth, but I believe that the Kelly Road situation would not be in the best interest of either Southeast or Carmel. And I know the people on Kelly Road very well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, I just wanted to ask, and I recall the situation years ago in terms of the paving of Maple Road. Maple Road is a scenic road, right? Is it designated
has been,
scenic road? Is that the entire road that was designated as scenic?
Yes.
What protections were granted, or what special?
There isn't it isn't as strong a protection as was originally planned, because it does leave, I believe it leaves paving, and Will know this better than me, up to the discretion of the highway superintendent.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so it's not,
Yeah, I thought it granted more protection than.
no, that was part of the
Oh, okay,
compromise.
because I know that that it was that it was one of the good things that happened for the town of Southeast.
And if I can just quickly address the Kelly Road opening, I did make calls before this meeting to make sure we were prepared. I spoke to, Kenny Schmidt called me back, he's the supervisor in the town of Carmel. He left a very long message about, obviously, why they don't want the road to open up into Kelly, and he gave me a brief history. I spoke to Highway Superintendent in Carmel, Mike Simone, who feels the same way. Carmel, actually, and Will can help us out with this. The Highway Department in the town of Carmel there was a stop work order, issued a temporary restraining order on the town of Southeast for cutting down trees, and Carmel, the Highway Department was made lead agency, I believe. I spoke also to Joe Charbonneau, who was extremely helpful. He is one of the attorneys over in Carmel, and he told me much the same. It's not that it can't be pursued, but it seems to be a real dead end. Is that pretty accurate, Will, or what else can you add?
Well, I'm not quite sure that your characterizations were totally accurate, but the process of opening that road was stonewalled by the town of Carmel, alleging that that when we went to try to reopen it a bunch of years back, that we had not fully completed the secret review. And when we went back to do the secret review, the town of Carmel claimed lead agency, and it was challenged. It went to the Commissioner of DEC, and the Commissioner of DEC, for some reason, which I still have no understanding as to why, granted lead agency status to the Highway Department of the town of Carmel, even though none of the construction and none of the runoff or drainage or any of the other impacts, other than the fact that it would reopen a historic road in this town, had no impact on Carmel. And that's where it lay because the town of Carmel Highway Superintendent is ill-prepared to conduct a secret review and has certainly no incentive to do so. So if the town at some point decides to revisit that, it's going to be a lengthy litigation process.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sharon Scheel. I live at 46 Enoch Crosby. I actually only moved there about 2 years ago. So I just wanted to point out a couple different things. First of all, the neighborhood I came from was all paved. We had speeders. We had people that went the speed limit. There was never an accident on that road, that I'm aware of, I should say. And I lived there for about 10 years. So it was paved. It was a residential street. It was similar to, where we are with homes. And, again, it was a hill going up, and, sometimes you had people go fast and sometimes you had people go your speed limit, and that's going to happen in any neighborhood. So that's first and foremost. Second of all, again, kind of what Lynn was saying, let's keep it in perspective to everyone. We're talking about a half a mile of road. We're not talking about the entire scenic Maple Road, which I run on all the time as well, which I love. But I do want to point out that it is a half a mile, and there are no driveways coming off of that section of road that you're looking to pave. Not one driveway. Okay? A half a mile, I don't know about anybody else. I don't own a Ferrari. It's going to take someone a very, very long time to pick up enough speed to really cause a difference on that half a mile being paved or being dirt. So, second of all, I also want to say so a lot of the comments that were made here tonight don't apply because they really do apply to the other section of Maple Road, not the portion that we're talking about paving. Also, as far as walkers and runners like myself and many of us in this room, the danger is not the fact that these walkers are on the road, it's the fact that they're in the middle due to puddles, due to ruts, due to unsafe surfaces to run on the side of the roads. So, giving someone a choice to go out the other way and run to the bike path, why not? Other people can turn right and run on the dirt road if they choose to do so. So I think what we're all saying here is all about compromise. Lastly, I just want to point out, I am a local realtor. I actually sold 75 Enoch Crosby on the corner. I showed that house about 5 times, no joke, 5 times. And 4 out of the 5 times, the major deterrent of that house was the dirt road. And this affects our property values on Enoch Crosby, everybody. So if we had a choice to have at least one section, so people had a choice of having a paved portion in bad weather, in really, really rainy seasons or what have you, it would increase our property values. I actually have an email directly from a client a week ago about a house that's listed on Enoch Crosby. And he said to me, he was deterred about the road. I said, well, good news. I said, it's being brought upon, this is exactly what I said. They have it on the agenda for this month's town board meeting. I'll keep you informed in case you are still considering any homes in this neighborhood. His reply was, yes, please let me know. This was a major deterrent. His words, okay? And as far as Bedford and the roads that people expect many dirt roads. A lot of people who come to Brewster love the beauty, but 99.9% of the roads are paved. They're not expecting dirt roads. So when they come here and they hit a dirt road, it is a little off-putting. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Before you get up, anyone that has not spoken, we'll give you a 1-minute rebuttal. Well, ma'am, wait till you get to the mic so everyone can hear you, please.
I just,
Wait, ma'am, please, not you, the one in the audience. I asked, no one had gotten up at that point in time. We gave the floor to this person. She's got 1 minute. The other gentleman will not be limited. Go.
I just think it's important that we focus on facts and studies and data. Like, we're not the first municipality to talk about a road. And when you rely on anecdotes like the ones that Sharon just gave you, I sold 8 Enoch Crosby Road, and everyone who looked at that house really appreciated that it was on a dirt road. Different people have different opinions and different expectations, and I think the focus of this conversation, instead of relying on anecdotes and emotional arguments, should really just come back to focusing on the safety of the road. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Bob Schoenberg. We built our home 20 years ago on 18 Enoch Crosby Road. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I don't know how many of you have seen this engineer report that was authorized by the town 10 years ago, but it's very significant. It addresses each of the concerns that people spoke about as far as the water runoff and the type of surfaces. And I would tell you that it's very comprehensive. And if each of you haven't seen it, have any of you seen it?
We will be reviewing it. We have the documentation. I'm not sure if we have that, so if you'd like to scan that to me tomorrow, you could do that.
Say again?
We have numerous documents that I'm going to be reviewing and sharing with the town board. Again, tonight was a preliminary, so we do have numerous documents that we're going to review.
Okay.
It may or not be there, so if you want to give us a copy of that this evening,
Yes,
or
absolutely. This is the one that Jacobson, the engineers.
and we have the same town engineers, and we have
Yeah, you've probably
3 file folders that we're going to be reviewing.
seen it. I would tell you that I've heard a lot of give and take here this evening, much of it very emotional. But we are very much, my wife and I, very much for paving, at least the compromise section, because while it may be almost impassable, that road, for a few weeks of the year, I would tell you that the rest of the time is not exactly a pleasure. The potholes are ever present. The highway people are always out there filling them in. And I, from personal experience, had the misfortune to have to take a short ride in an ambulance, and I would tell you that the road was worse than the reason they came to get me, because it was brutal. I mean, really, truly brutal. And while not too many people have addressed scratches and dings and broken windows and other things, I can tell you that this little graphic photograph of the wheel and the tire of my car, which the repair was a little over $1,000. That's just from going down Maple Road, and unfortunately, what looked like just a little puddle turned out to be halfway to China. It was just awful, and this happens all the time. I think that's probably all I have to give you.
Okay.
We'd like to see it paved. Long overdue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to leave that, one document? Okay. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for your comments tonight. I'm looking at what we're proposing this evening for an agenda, so I'm going to announce this evening while everyone's here. I'm going to make 2 announcements very briefly. The next time Maple Road will be on the agenda will be Thursday, April 23rd, in case you want to mark it down. We have tons of documents we're going to review. 2 board members only partially here. Going back to 2005, nobody was here, so we have a lot of reviewing to do, and we will be doing our homework and make decisions accordingly. And more importantly, about closed roads, I was going to do this at the end of the meeting, but since I can get a majority of it here now, we have a major road closing that's going to be very inconvenient to many, many people on April 10th. It's a Friday. The Route 312 railroad crossing is going to be upgraded by the MTA. Now, it's a state road. The town has nothing to do with it. The county has nothing to do with it. And it really has nothing to do with the accidents they've been having at the railroad crossings. That's something that's going to be addressed. It's being addressed by them now. But over the years, especially the past 10 years, that grate out there, it just gets deteriorated to nothing. The school buses have complained numerous times. I know when I was a legislator, I had to fix it at least once. That was probably 7 years ago. They're going to basically pour concrete and then put a layer of blacktop over it as well, I understand. So I recommend, and it's not that I'm recommending, they're telling us the road will be closed on the April 10th on a Friday. Now, original report said it would be during rush hour, after rush hour. I've now been told it's going to be 11 o'clock. But to be safe, if you're on 312 and you're coming from the Home Depot, coming down toward Dykeman's, you can't cross the tracks. You go up that dirt road that's right there, Ice Pond Road, and practice what I've been hearing. That road's in a lot better shape for some reason. I don't think I've ever received a complaint about Ice Pond, ever. Only Maple. But at any rate, on Saturday, it will be closed the entire day. Now, if you're coming from the other way, if you're coming from Brewster High School down toward Dykeman's, you can go to the railroad tracks. You're going to have to turn around and go back. You cannot cross the tracks, okay? The same thing will happen that Sunday, the entire Sunday. Now, people say, well, why didn't they do it more convenient, like at night? They're going to be working night and day to get this done because of the concrete that has to be poured, has to be cured, same with the blacktop. It's supposed to reopen on the 13th, which is a Monday. They have not given a time. And you know how prompt the MTA is. I mean, we've been waiting 7 years for Prospect Hill, but they're going to be a little more accurate on this one. So on Monday, if you're in a hurry, don't go on 312, go to the long way. I'm going to estimate, hopefully they're done by 12. And the reason they're not estimating, because if there's heavy rain or there's a delay, it will be longer. So I would say from Friday night on the 11th at 11 o'clock until Monday, I don't want to give you time, I would say 12 noon, but wait till you hear that it's open. There'll be news reports on the radio telling you when it's reopened. And if you have any questions about it, dial 511. We're going to post it on our website as well. As much information as provide us, but if you have any other type of information, dial 511. Thank you all for coming. Okay.
Wait a minute, let them leave.
Yeah, that's good too. I make a motion to go into regular portion of the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Waive the reading of the correspondence.
First,
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to take a 1-minute recess. Ladies and gentlemen, just hurry up out.
Wait. Okay,
Approval of the voucher list, $951,733.55.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, setting of the meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, April 9, 2015. Thursday, April 23, 2015. That's when Maple Road will be put on the agenda next. Now, on Thursday, April 9, 2015, we're setting a public hearing to amend Chapter 138 of the zoning code for digital submissions. Same night, set public hearing to amend the comprehensive plan, and set public hearing to amend Chapter 138 of the zoning code for noise. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Waive the reading of the budget transfers. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Time out. Okay. Number 5, resolution, Pinella Fence, certiorari settlement. Resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendations of its professional advisors and authorizes town attorney to execute a stipulation of settlement, consent judgment, and/or order of consent in accordance with said recommendations for the following. Petitioner, Pinella LLC, tax ID number 78.-2-93, year 2014, assessment $1 million, settled assessment $750,000. Ladies, please, ma'am, ladies, please. One meeting. And be further resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all stipulations, consent orders, and other documents necessary to reflect the foregoing settlement. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Lori. Number 6, a resolution of Grace Assembly of God, ARB recommendation. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated March 23, 2015, a copy of which will be annexed hereto and made part hereof in connection with Grace Assembly of God, Inc., and that such report shall be incorporated in final site plan subsequently reviewed by the planning board. So moved.
Second.
Now, just a brief discussion. You will add will be annexed to. We don't have it in front of us this evening.
Oh.
Okay? You got that? Will be annexed to. Was it seconded?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Number 7, resolution, declare lead agency for zoning digital submissions. Now therefore it be resolved that pursuant to 6.17.6B1 of the State Environmental Review Act, SECRA, the Town Board of the Town of Southeast hereby declare itself lead agency for the purpose of SECRA for the unlisted action. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Number, time out.
Well, digital submission, that's all.
Number 8. I want to make a motion to refer the zoning digital submission to the Putnam County Planning Department. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution, number 9, resolution to declare lead agency for the comprehensive plan. Now therefore be resolved that pursuant to 6.617.6B1 of the State Environmental Review Act, SECRA, the Town Board of the Town of Southeast hereby declares itself lead agency pursuant for the purposes of SECRA for this type 1 action. So moved.
I'll second for discussion.
Discussion.
I just want to clarify that we still have to codify certain items that are in the comprehensive plan. So those will be all subject to public hearings as any other law changes,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
We actually passed the comprehensive plan on August 21st of last year. We did that so the living document could stay alive and we could move forward. There were recommendations made in there that required further review and finalization, which is now coming in front of us each time, okay? The two actions that were, the one tonight on digital submissions was not one of them, but the other part about is, okay? So every time, I think there's at least 4 or 5 more changes that will be made to that. One change we made early on was for the outside storage. That was kind of like an emergency measure because it was tough for some of the businesses to, have warehouses, and the way the code was written, a person could rent a warehouse, but they couldn't keep anything outside, like a truck for the business or something like that. So we did kind of an emergency stopgap measure so that can move forward and these buildings could be rented. And we will update it. As you know, if a person has a nursery, they can't have more than 5% of their property to house trees or plant trees, which doesn't make sense. The nursery requires much more. So there will be about 5 to 7 items more that will come in front of this board, and each one be treated separately, require the secret process, review process, as well as public hearings.
Thank you for the clarification.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 10 is a motion, refer comprehensive plan to the Putnam County Planning Department and the Town of Southeast Planning Board. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, the resolution, home rule request for retirement tier change, employee number 1, and I'm going to move number 12 as well. Resolution, home rule request for retirement tier change, employee number 2. I identified them early on. We have gone to both our state assemblyman and our state senator. We have 2 employees that evidently at some point in time have been working for the town, one for at least 14 years, another one a shorter period of time. One had previously worked for the schools, but the way the system works, we're the last employer of record at this point in time, and we have to move this forward. Now, what this does, when they came, they had an opportunity back when, and neither one evidently, we can't find any documentation to support or not to support our position. And basically what we do, they're going to be moved from a tier 6 retirement plan to a tier 4. We did this about 4 or 5 months ago to another employee. I don't believe there's any more in our system, but everyone that now comes in is required to sign a form, which we implemented once I learned that, this was a problem. Not that it's a problem, but, people are given an option when they come to work, whether to sign up, and I guess they feel they could probably save a few pennies, maybe not opt, just don't do it. But now they have to actually opt in or opt out the day they become employed by the town, whether they're part-time or not. And that's why we have to do that this evening. So I move both 11 and 12.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just, it still has to be approved by the state legislature. which
Yes,
they usually do.
this allows both the Assembly and the Senate, we will forward these to them tomorrow, and they will then bring it up to the Senate. The Senate will sign, the Assembly will sign the bill. Hopefully the Senate gives them the same bill number. They do that now, right? Well, they have to be, they used to have separate numbers. Are they the same numbers now?
No.
They'll be
They
different?
could have a uni bill, but they rarely do that. They have a Senate intro and an Assembly intro.
Okay, so once the Assemblyman has his bill number and the State Senator has his bill number, they will give us those bill numbers, and we then would have to pass a resolution to, mirror what was approved by the Assembly and by the state.
And Tony, these employees have to now contribute to the
Yes.
pensions.
Well, right now, they're contributing
Right.
a portion, but they'll have to contribute more because they're going to a higher bracket.
I think they have a sizable amount of money, right?
Well, we're responsible for the part that was never done, but in the future, as it goes forward, each one of them will pay more themselves.
The tier 4 is one would say a better tier.
Right.
You can retire earlier at a higher percentage. The tier 6 is a less rich tier. Every time the state decides they have a budget problem, they create a new tier, so new people coming in. The situation here is that it's unclear as to whether these employees were offered properly the opportunity, and since we have no documentation, as Tony pointed out, than we do now going forward, the only way that they can be brought back into a new tier or to a lower tier is through a legislative action.
Okay. Do we end up voting on this?
No.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Next is number 13, resolution to appoint the unexpired term to the Architectural Review Board. One, I'd like to thank Erin Lucen for her dedication to the position. She was a Patterson resident. She moved to the town of Southeast, and she's going back home to Patterson. I understand she's going to be building a home up there, and she was a big asset to the board while she's there, and we wish her the best of luck in her new home and her new environment. And we would like to welcome, resolve that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby appoints Susan McKeever Dyes to fill the unexpired term of Erin Griffin Lucen on the Southeast Architectural Review Board, and be further resolved that the appointment shall take effect upon the taking and filing of the appropriate oath of office with the clerk of the town of Southeast. So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. This is Lynn's favorite portion, as she used to sit out there in the audience, want to know how the finances are for the town. Finances of the town are good, but unfortunately, it's too early in the year to give you a really good report. The best report will probably come around May, because we'll have a lot more happening. As everyone is aware, the snow budget and the salt budget and the highway budget was not out of whack. We had money budgeted for it. I don't like to have to use that money in its completeness, but we're pretty close to it. But, you know, we're hanging in there. If you recognize tonight, one of the vouchers we signed was for $118,000 in salt. So you can just be well aware of what these costs are to the town with that maintenance of it. And other than that, everything, at this point in time, because it's early in the year, I mean, overtime, everything is pretty good right now. And hopefully by September, I can say the same thing. With that, recognition of the public. Don't fight, ladies, one at a time.
Kathy Croft. I'd like to ask if on the planning board agendas and maybe the zoning board agendas, if when properties are listed, if you could put the tax block and lot number
That
on
seems like a
those
reasonable request.
agendas, because sometimes I'll be reading it or I'll get someone will call me and they'll go, do you know, and I don't even know where it is, except maybe it'll say the address, Route 6, and I'll Google it, but.
Okay, do you have that?
Well, at least
Tax-
for the zoning board, the public hearing notices do contain.
Right, but just on the planning board, because most other towns do that, and it's just a little bit more information.
As you know, Lynn Eckhart and my secretary spent months, I think maybe 9 months.
And I think they now need to go back and scan them all.
Well, this is only a part-time
Thanks,
job.
Kathy.
She's already made it full-time plus, except when she goes off to her South Sea Island, wherever that might be. But
Thanks, Tom.
I was trying to get a piece of the land, but you won't sell me any. Any rate, it's a reasonable request. You know, we'll put that in. And as you know, everything now at the planning board, it used to, like the place when I bought it out on Route 6, it was first built as Brewster Lanes. So when they were down there reviewing it, they saw Brewster Lanes and they saw my name. Well, it's not by my name, it's not by Brewster Lanes, and now it's called, I guess it's just plain old On the Border, but, you know, there's had numerous owners
Right.
since then.
Right.
And everything starts with, and it helps Lori, helps us. So everything going through the process now is digitized and itemized by tax lot map number, by tax map.
Great,
We'll
thank
do
you.
it. I'll hold Michelle responsible for getting that done.
I just wanted to, if I recall the Kelly Road situation, the reason that the GEC chose Carmel as the lead agency, because of the impact on the Kelly Road, did I say Kelly Ridge? The Kelly Road residents, a narrow road with rather modest homes on both sides of the road, and I know it all too well. So I think the GEC took into consideration the impact that this particular course of action would take, because it would be a road that would be coming off, if I recall, off a slope, if not a hill, all the way down into Kelly, and there was a brook, or there was some contention about it. So I think in this particular instance, the DEC made the correct decision, and that is, as I recall, Attorney Stevens, as to exactly why that happened. The second thing is, speaking of doing something, most towns have their planning boards videoed. Here is, and not to diminish this board, but the planning board has tremendous responsibilities in terms of land use and development. And most of the folks, unless the development occurs literally in their backyard, they really know very little about a planning board. Carmel videos their planning board. Kent videos their planning board, and these are the ones that I know personally that are videoed, and I don't think Patterson does it? No, okay, and we don't. But considering the amount of development and so forth, I think that perhaps the board should consider video and what is coming up because the decisions made by the planning board have almost the most immediate impact to residents. And residents are not accustomed, so perhaps when budget time comes, you might consider a planning board video.
Thank you.
Back in, I did support that back in 2010. And we started then having the meetings, the town board meetings go on the internet too, to give up people a better option to watch if you don't have Comcast cable. The main reason we didn't do it was because of the expense.
Yeah, I have neither, but folks that I know, have it. So whether they're on Comcast or on Verizon or whatever.
But you can also watch the town board meetings just on the
Yes,
internet.
I understand, but what I'm really pointing out, and I think you know what I'm pointing out, is the importance of many of the issues that come up before the planning board.
This is something I think a lot of us, I certainly did want it, but it was budget constraints, but we can certainly look at that again.
I think that in the interest of sunshine and open government and getting our folks to know exactly what their government is doing, and especially with decisions most immediate to them. And I'm not saying this town board has not had decisions immediate to them, but you might want to consider doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Anyone else from the public? Town board members?
I have something. But
Oh,
let go.
we knew that. Ladies before gentlemen, don't be fighting
Oh,
guys.
no.
Age before beauty?
Thanks, Bob. That's what was said before. And there you go. I just wanted to remind people, and I'll remind them again, we are going to have our Earth Cleanup Day weekend this year, April 25th and 26th, Saturday and Sunday. There is also going to be our annual poster contest, which Irene Othmer is handling at the Brewster Schools in the 8th grade. And our theme this year is hike, bike, and walk our roadways and trails. So I'll be announcing it again, and we'll be giving out hours. And of course, you can always get your bags and gloves prior to April 25th and 26th. Thank you.
That was
Painless,
easy. That's
see?
great, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, Bob?
No, you can't talk. Poor Edwin has a cold. I just want to wish everyone a happy Passover, happy Easter, and I'd also just really proud of our highway department, Mike Burdick, who is our mechanic. He finds federal government surplus vehicles, and myself and Tony Hay and Levon and Mike Burdick have the pleasure of driving down to Virginia. And how many
Strictly
hours did we
business,
do it?
strictly business. We
Right.
left at 1 o'clock in the morning, got back at 7:30 in the evening.
Right, and we went down and we picked up 3 almost new pickup trucks for very little cost. and,
$27,000.
Yeah, it's gonna save the town a lot of money. They're lime green, so I'm not
Can't
crazy
miss 'em.
about the color, but,
We can find
you-
out when
you-
people are cheating and not doing their job.
right, but it is a great program, and,
Don't be telling everybody it was
no,
gonna.
no, I was just thinking about that. Yeah, we don't want too many other towns to find out about it, because,
I doubt they watch us.
yeah,
you're
I don't
okay.
think so.
I think they're safe.
But,
As riveting as it is.
And Mike Burdick, I keep getting them confused, but
Yes.
Mike Burdick has been on top of this program basically since day one. And it's amazing what he doesn't just get vehicles. I mean, he's gotten brake drums. He bought, what, 400 pairs. He's got a shelving. I told him I needed a new paper folder. He went online, and the government's got tons of things that they paid a lot of money for, and they're giving it back to us for pretty close to nothing. Bottom line is, we did get it for nothing. All we had to do was pay for the shipping of it. And I get nothing but compliments of how well this thing works compared to the Mickey Mouse thing we had before. It gets the job done probably 90% faster than it was in the past. He's getting us shelving for our archives. I basically ask him for anything, and he tries to find it. And he does a lot of it on his own time. He does it from home, and he's very unselfish. So he's not asking me for a raise, and that's a good thing, but I'm glad that he does what he does for the town. He goes above and beyond, as many of our workers do, but he's one of the ones that goes home and takes his work with him, and we appreciate it. Anyone else?
Thanks for picking it
I'm
up.
just going to say that I thank Tony for What I heard, you actually bought a round of coffees at Dunkin' Donuts on that drive down?
Actually, he bought
Or
us
was it the town?
breakfast and lunch, but
Don't let it out, everyone be
we
asking.
were
me-
limited to the dollar menu at Starbucks. And I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, but you had free packets of sugar.
And he's limited-
You're gonna
I
ruin my
live one-
reputation.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And I did have the credit card for the town with me for gas. And the first time I put it in, I saw a different color credit card because I had been using it because I got another one because I get 2% on one. I'll tell you guys after the meeting if you want to know. Someone pays 2% now. The other guy was only paying 1%. But at any rate, when I went to buy the gas, I put in my credit card. And then somehow I slipped up one other time and used the town one. So bottom line, it all got straightened out, but it was purchased with my own hard-earned money.
There you go.
And he can't believe it. But he did have to go to the dollar menu. I'll treat anyone if they want to go, but you got to go to the dollar menu. And if you want 2 desserts, we go to Wendy's and we go to McDonald's.
I'd like to also add my wishes for everyone to have a great Easter and a great Passover, and look forward to seeing you at the next meeting, Thursday, April 9th, 2015 at 7 p.m.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we close tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.